welcome back to another episode of Lost in the Dark podcast. This is episode 109, but more importantly, it is episode part 3 of 4 of Clint Franklin, lead singer of Recorruptor, his top 100 albums of the year. There are 2 episodes that precede this one and one that comes after. This episode consists of this one consists of albums numbers 49 through 25. So that's what you're about to hear right now. And for anyone that doesn't know, that might be just jumping on right now, we when we sat down and recorded this, we recorded it straight through. So due to that, there are some spots where we had to break it up into the other episodes. I just wanted to jump in here, give it a little intro. Huge shout out to Clint, huge shout out to Recorruptor. Keep an eye on them. They got a lot of great stuff in the works. But here it is, ladies and gentlemen. This is number 49 through 25 of Clint's top 100 of 2019. Buckle up. 49.
49. How you feel about that?
Fantastic.
Good.
It's great.
Good. I hope you guys have been finding some good shit out of this for sure.
Definitely.
I'll say this is like significantly changing my list already.
Yeah.
And there's a few things out here that we talked about that either haven't heard or like heard early on in the year and just kind of forgot about, or things like that. So
Right. Hell yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about another big one here. We've definitely mentioned this band a few times, and that's Flesh God Apocalypse.
Heyo.
Flesh God Apocalypse dropped Veleno through Nuclear Blast on May 24th. This is symphonic technical death metal.
Mm-hmm.
And, I don't know, man. Like, Flesh God Apocalypse have always been really stellar to me. Like, from their really blistering days to even on, like, King, when they dialed it back a little bit. And just, I don't know, man. They've just always been great. As long as they got that fucking songwriting ability, I don't think they could ever go wrong. And that's no different for Veleno either. You know, it's sharp, but at the same time, it's very grandiose, you know. I think that with this record, the band is pushing forward to what, their newfound realization on King, that they can write these songs while dialing back on the fucking insanity that they used to be known for. It's, the emphasis is laid more on the atmospherical and epic sense of the track. Songwriting still expert level. It's just done in a different light, I do gotta completely admit that when I first heard Veleno, I was a little dismissive. You know what I mean?
same.
I think that it was a little, I don't know, just compared to what the band has done, it seemed a little plain Jane. But I think the more I listened to it, the more I fell in love with it. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot to pay attention to in every single song. Fury is a fantastic opener, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic. And some kick-ass live staples follow it with Carnivorous Lamb and Sugar, of course. And up until now, it seems pretty similar to what we know from the band for the most part. It's really once Mona Lisa kicks in that we see something fresh for this band.
Yeah.
It's just the operatic sense is higher. And, it's got a really soothing groove behind it. Super cool stuff. It's just... And even still, the insanity that we know from the band is brought back in with, like, pissing on the score, is really intense in that, and... I think for me, though, the real peak is Embrace the Oblivion, the final track of the record, not including the ending instrumental, of course. But dude, it's just intimidating. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's just so dark, it just commands replay after replay for sure. Like, it's I don't know, that song is really incredible for sure. I don't know how to describe it other than that. It's like everything is led up to this final moment, and it just proves that Flesh God's biggest strength has always been their ability to write captivating albums,
Yeah.
It's like with this being the final moment, it's like, man, everything else before it just makes so much sense.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's what really makes the band great is the fact that whatever you think about their songs in themselves, they've always wrote some of the most consistent albums. Like as a whole, it just flows all together so well.
Yeah.
All makes sense at the end. I think that's what really makes Valeno special, man.
Oh yeah.
I dig it.
It's tough for me because I first got into them when it was like Agony
Yeah.
and like Oracle's style.
Yeah.
And like I still, even now, I mean, they still do it. Like they're not really the same band that they were on those, but like there's still, I always appreciate the fact that they keep that style and those elements in their songs instead of just like going this completely like neoclassical kind of style with everything.
Right.
It's a cool progression and stuff. And admittedly, I had a pretty difficult time with this one when I first heard it. Just because of how, like, I mean, there was a lot of songs on it that were standouts, and like the 2 singles were really solid. I remember jamming to them quite a few times when they first came out. But like, I don't know, it's one of those albums where you really gotta like sit down with it and really like listen to it from top to bottom. And like, there's even their last couple were kind of like that.
Yeah.
You know, more so like I guess starting more with like Labyrinth and King
I think
and stuff.
Labyrinth was really the shifting point there for sure.
Yeah.
I actually think that King was them realizing and achieving what they tried to do on Labyrinth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seemed a little more realized, and so and this one kind of more so.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. It's definitely a continuous progression for them. I'm really excited.
Yeah, I loved Valeno. That's one that might make an appearance on my list. I'm not sure yet.
There you go.
It's up there. It's a great album.
Hell yeah. Okay. We're going to go back to some of the OSDM here, but this is definitely an important record, no doubt. You know, for as much as I've spoken about this revival, I think that's only because there's a lot of bands to be excited about. And while there's still a decent amount of these kind of bands to talk about, I really want to talk about what is probably one of the most important and popular bands of the genre, and that is Tomb Mold. Tomb Mold dropped Planetary Clairvoyance on July 19th through $20 spin.
I know we've talked about this band quite a few times.
Yeah, Tomb Mold, man, they're just... They have crafted excellence on every single album that they've done, and that is, I mean, there's no question that it's happened on Planetary Clairvoyance either. This is the 3rd album in 3 years that they've done, you know, and
Damn.
Yeah, and they only have the 3 albums. They have demos and splits and shit, but
that's impressive.
It is, and to be so quality at it is impressive because. I don't know if you guys recall my list last year at all, but Manner of Infinite Forms grabbed number 5 for my list, and to be honest, looking back at it, I probably should have put it a little higher. It's if that came out back in the day of the classic death metal bands, it would still stand up just perfectly.
Yeah.
It's legit, and I mean This is no question either. I think the only reason why it's at 48 is because it followed that. I mean, there's just so many classic death metal riffs on Manner of Infinite Forms. But that's not to be said that Planetary Clairvoyance does not have its fantastic moments either. I think that this album really embodies not just everything that Tomb Mold is, but the movement of OSDM itself. It's just... I mean, especially with this album, it's, so spatial, It's just, especially like the album opener, Beg for Life, it, utilizes the normal death metal tropes. But it's just like the dissonance that's laid into the introduction and that mainstays throughout is something that you don't see in other death metal bands nowadays. It sets a narrative for the record for sure. And
Like, I think the other impressive thing about Two Mold is how intricate their instruments are with the guitars and bass specifically. They really know how to push their technicality to a limit to where it doesn't proceed or supersede its disgusting limits. You know, it still manages to keep that filth in there. But man, you can tell that these guys know how to play their instruments and they know how to fucking do it better than you.
Nice.
You know. And yeah, man, like, I don't know, like, it's hard to describe this band without fucking just going on a whole spiel. It's just, you know, it's songs like Infinite Resurrection, Accelerative Phenomena, you know, the two leading singles that came out of this record. It's just beating after beating.
Fuck yeah.
You know, and they're definitely the personification of this record for sure. You know, they just feature classic pounding drums and just absolutely addictive riffing. Yeah. And I mean, you know, the whole thing's great, but even with the closing song, Heat Death, Death by Heat, man. It is a menacing epic for sure.
Hell
you
yeah.
know, it's got odd time signatures that just fucking, like, it's mind-boggling how well this band writes this kind of death metal, and just Two Mold is fantastic, man. Planetary Clairvoyance is fantastic. It deserves all your attention, you know, even though I will admit that it's not them at their best, it is still them doing this shit better than a lot of other bands.
Hell yeah.
No doubt. I gotta tell you, if there's one fucking OSDM band you gotta check out, it's Two Mold, for sure.
Fuck yeah.
They're one I gotta spend more time with,
Absolutely.
admittedly.
Yeah, just Manner of Infinite Forms and Planetary Clairvoyance, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
You just listen to that first song that pounds in on Manor, the title track, and it's a classic riff for sure. Classic. Okay, you guys remember entry number 100? We talked about that. I know it's been a while. Yeah, I'm getting a little lost here.
Shit, no, I don't actually. I did. I thought I had
a
it.
Controversial one.
It was
Oh,
Batushka?
yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
that's correct. So the issue with Batushka is that they split into two different bands because of a bit of a control dispute. So now we're going to talk about the other Batushka. And Batushka, the real Batushka, fronted by Krzysztof Drabakowski, otherwise known as Durf. He released Panihida independently on May 26th. So obviously, you know, I think both of these guys understood that what was really going to be the deciding factor on where the fans went was the music. You know what I mean? And I think it's safe to say that Durf won that fucking battle. That's for sure. At 47 is Panihida. I think that with this record, what we're seeing is, especially compared to Haspodi, Panihida is much more aligned to what the debut was that made the band so fantastic. The black metal strong and intact, and it's combined with, you know, the love for Eastern Orthodox liturgies. And, you know, the structuring of the songs are far more similar to the debut than Haspodi ever managed to achieve, and really does act as a proper continuation of the band rather than a fractured and rushed follow-up. So, yeah, I mean, just from the record's genesis, dude makes it clear who the brains really is behind Batushka. There's glistening, depressive, clean tones, you know, and which clear the path for a distinct brand of black metal that Batushka has become so known for. It's really depressive. You know, it's really wide.
Hell yeah.
And, you know, it's got some really irresistible hooks and translucent passages in the second and third tracks. And, you know, I think it's just really interesting to see this album win so hard. But at the same time, for something a little bit more harsh, that might sound a little bit more harsh, something that I hope settles a bit of musical argument concerning this situation, because a lot of people are just like, yeah, this band clearly won, and other people are like, no, the other band fucking won. You know what I mean? Not a lot, because most people are siding with Durf on this one. You know what I mean?
So this is the one that's more like heavily regarded as the actual
Batushka.
Yeah.
This is the real Batushka. Yes. Okay. But I think people are missing something here. And that's this. Is this record better than Huspody by the fake Batushka? Absolutely. Absolutely. That much is obvious as soon as the first track is ended. And is Durf deserving to be the suitable and rightful owner of Batushka? You know, you bet your ass he is. You know, he deserves that shit. That being said, the biggest detractor of this album is the same detractor of Huspody. While this record is the stronger record, it still is not nearly in the same league as the debut album that they worked on together. It's just not. And knowing all the information that we know now about this band, they could have contributed the follow-up that we all wanted had they stayed together, you know? LITD could have been released today, and it probably still would have made my top 5 easily. It's that important. But just knowing that, I don't know. It's just knowing that we could have had a better record had shit not gone down like this.
Mm-hmm.
If we really got that proper rock or follow-up to LITD, man, it's just unreal what this band could have done. And especially just knowing that this record was pretty rushed out. It's phenomenal. Don't get me wrong. It is absolutely stellar record, and I implore everybody to check it out 100%. That's why it's at 47, you know, for a band that I've spoken so highly of in their original days.
Yeah.
It's really tough to give this spot to this band, but it's got to be done, you know.
Well, it's not often that. I mean, this is kind of a rare case for this band.
Absolutely.
And it's tough when, and we kind of touched on it earlier, but like, you know, kind of like what you were saying with, you know, you could have had this, you know, so much better of an album if you know, one or two things wouldn't have happened, but instead you got like two halves of, you know, just something kind of like off, I guess. I don't know.
I agree.
Kind of get what you're saying.
Yeah, it's disappointing, but at the end of the day, I'm gonna fucking take this record for sure.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna deny that it's not awesome, because it really is. It's just, yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, we okay. This one will be a quick one because it's a pretty short album, and there's not a lot to say about it. But at 46, we have a band called Sour. That is Saor. They released an album called Forgotten Paths through Avant-Garde Music on February 15th. This is a combination of post-black metal and folk metal. I think that you were really gonna like this record if you check it out for sure.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's really got a lot of that. I think, you know, I mentioned, you know, some of those elements in folk metal and power metal kind of get lost on me because of its corniness.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that really succeeds about this record is the way that those non-traditional instruments that are found in folk metal, like the woodwind sections, you know, they add even more of the somewhat depressive style on it, while being incredibly bright, you know. This band first caught my attention because of the fact that I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Alcest at all. But Alcest is a pioneering band in the shoegaze genre, post-black metal stuff. A lot of post-black metal today has Alcest to owe for that. So when I found out that dude provided guest vocals for this album, I immediately had to hear it, and it is beautiful. I don't know if you looked up the
What's the spelling of it?
That's Saor, and the album's called Forgotten Paths. Either way, you know, immediately it's just a storm of drums followed quickly by an immediate glimmer of glorious chord passages, you know, and it's just, it sets this bright.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I've
it's
heard
like-
of this one.
Yeah, dude, it's beautiful, man.
It's a sick cover.
Yeah,
Hmm.
And you listen to it, and it feels like you're in that album cover
dude,
perfectly.
Yeah.
Like,
I could see a lot of the pagan stuff already in the logo and everything. So
you just get lost in it. You just get absolutely lost in it, and it's great. It's really difficult to explain this record in any other way. It's just a total foray into melodic leads. You know, the atmosphere has been set from the moment it enters, and it's soul warming. You know what I mean? Like, you're talking about influences from bands like Agalloch and Panopticon and Alcest, and it's very captivating stuff. And anybody that's trying to listen to some really pretty, no, I don't want to say pretty. That's kind of a chintzy word, but it's just, I don't know, man. It's glorious stuff for sure. Definitely don't expect anything brutal. I'm not trying to make it sound like that, but
a lot of pagan metal stuff usually isn't.
Right.
It's a little more atmospheric and
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Talk a little bit heavier about this one, though. 45. 45, and this is a hot topic band for me, because I think this band has been probably the most divisive band since shit. Like, I can't even think of it. Like, just the shift in their sound has divided so much, especially for how classic that their previous work was before their shift in sound. But Opeth. Opeth released In Cauda Venenum this year, May 17th, on Relapse, and I don't know if you guys really follow Opeth very well. If you don't, then you need to fucking listen to everything that they've done Watershed and previous. Dude, it's some of the greatest music ever produced. I'm going to sound like such a fucking prog snob saying that.
yeah, that's true though. The first couple are where it's at.
dude, it's just like, I mean, everything they've done, even from like the melodic death metal of the early days to the mid days where it's like progressive metal with like Blackwater Park and Ghost Reveries, and it's awesome. But now you kind of get to a point where he wants to shift towards like a 70s prog rock style. So there's no more growls, you know, no more death growls. There's no more like really pummeling riffs. It's just, you know, it's about the prog. And I think that this band has gotten a lot of shit because of the fact that their previous material is so quality.
Okay.
You know, it was so well respected. To see that drastic of a shift really shocked people. I am a man that listens to a record for what it is, not completely influenced by who made it. And I gotta say, I've kind of enjoyed, you know, the way that Opeth has gone in the last decade. And this is the absolute culmination of the progressive rock genre that they've implemented. Like, it's just, it's them doing prog rock at their most refined for sure. There's absolutely a ton of progressive elements in here, no doubt about it. You know, it just feels miles ahead of everything they produced in the last decade for sure. You know, like, there's intensity. There's so much intensity in the record for not being like a heavy record. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of brutal shit in there. I really enjoy, especially from like, cause you know, it's a pretty pretty intro with Garden of Earthly Delights, but it definitely sets the pace. Like, you listen to it and you already know something's different. You know what I mean? And when Dignity comes in, it just crashes down with chorally harmonized wails and a riff that's better than most anything they've done in the last decade for sure. It's just, dude, it's heavy stuff for not being heavy metal. You know, even in Charlatan, the song, we see Opeth displaying some material that's possibly the closest thing that we've heard since that original Opeth sound. And even being the most innovative, well, because it doesn't have any guitars in it. It's all overdriven basses.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's really brutal. Like, it's really heavy. I think the big thing to focus on is the lyrical content. I think that's the most overlooked thing when it comes to Opeth. He really writes some interesting concepts. And you really see that come out in songs like Universal Truth, you know? And it's got a lot of vicious parts, and that's matched with the lyrical content that he's putting forward. It's very, you know, it's very melancholic, you know? While this is a long record, but are you surprised? You know, it's Opeth.
Yeah.
It does preserve its flow very well. You know, I think that this is the first new decade Opeth that I feel truly has purpose in every single moment, and it is definitely of higher intellect than any of his cohorts. While I can't still say it's anything as exciting as Watershed and Previous, it's still a wonderfully painted piece of art that should not be ignored simply because of the band's prior history. I think it stands strong on its own, and any proud rock fan will definitely enjoy it for what it is.
Nice.
It's cool. It's cool how I always liked how live their sound was on their albums.
Yeah.
It's all very like big sounding and really live, and you know, like all the instruments really have a space in the mix and everything. So
and it's
cool.
even more so on this one too, because that's kind of where that's kind of what I thought was lost on Heritage and the last album, Sorceress. Pale Communion did a good job with it.
Yeah.
But I felt like it was a little flatter, you know, in the songwriting aspect and in the whole grand scheme of things. Yeah, I have nothing but good to say about this record for sure. Okay.
They're a band I haven't listened to very much because of Bloodbath.
Dude,
I'm so
I get that.
I'm so like holding strong to that, but I know that like for one, that band still exists and they're still doing stuff, even though it's not quite as the same as it was.
Opeth or Bloodbath?
Bloodbath.
Oh yes.
Well, both really. So.
Yeah, Bloodbath is a little bit of a different entity than what they used to be.
Yeah.
I still dig it though. Okay, so let me ask you a question. When you think of heavy, what do you think of? Like if you think of the heaviest record of all time, what are some qualities that you're trying to pinpoint? You know what I mean? Makes you fucking think, doesn't it?
It's a good question. Yeah.
It's because there is no fucking definition of heavy, really. I shouldn't say that. There are many definitions of heavy. I think that there are some really blistering speed records that could be considered the heaviest of all time. I think there's some that are absolutely fucking slow and down-tuned that could be considered the heaviest, you know? Like fucking, you know, Meshuggah is really fucking heavy for being that down-tuned and, you know, establishing that kind of rhythm. But, I mean, you're not going to sit here and lie that the standard tuning of, like, Slayer isn't fucking just as equally blistering and heavy. You know what I mean? It's just different styles of heavy.
Yeah.
And even still, there's some records that are not instrumentally heavy at all, but it's the emotional topic of the lyrics that make it that fucking dark.
Yep.
I think that there's a lot of different styles of heavy. So, you know, when you get a band that's trying to create when you listen to it and you feel like these guys are really trying to be the heaviest fucking thing. And they kind of pull it off in a sense. That's really fucking cool. And I think Humanity's Last Breath did that at number 44 with Abyssal.
Okay. I know where you're headed with this.
Yeah. They put this out on Unique Leader August 2nd. And this is a foray into progressive deathcore, I guess is what it would best be called, you know? This is a band that shares sound with Viljarta because of the shared drummer, Buster Oldham.
Actually, never knew that.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense now.
Yeah. I gotta say that, you know, Humanity's Last Breath is the most innovative deathcore band that I've heard in a long time. It's really because of the fact that they're just barely deathcore enough to be considered deathcore, you know. But there's so many progressive elements in it that, and it's so fucking, like, I guess I hate using the word gent, but gent, like, you know.
There's a lot of especially like in the sounds and in the like the way the guitars sound and everything, and just
exactly,
you know.
yeah, it's that tone,
Yeah.
it's that fucking tone, and just the way that they write their songs, and they've always been really good, but not like this, man, not like this record. The other albums have great songs that are stupid heavy. Don't get me wrong, but this album is another level. Like, I listen to it, I'm like, holy fucking shit.
Yeah. Like there's still like what is it? Fradga?
Yeah,
whatever.
Fragda.
And then Abyssal Mouth is the other
Dude,
one.
just, yeah.
I found myself going back to a lot.
Because, yeah, dude, it's just fucking like, I don't even know what they're doing there, but dude, it's Abyssal Mouth is the heaviest part of the whole record.
Yeah.
Just, it's disgusting. Like, I can't believe it.
Yeah.
The surface impression of this band, you know, is just downtrodden rhythms and disturbed effects, you know, but there's so much more beneath it, you know. It's just the echoing cracks that come in on Bursting Bowels of Tellus, the first track of the album, and, you know, it's just like, oh shit, what's about to happen, and literally the 4 cracks happen, and it's just a fucking riff that just pounds away, like, just chips away at your soul, like, at your all being, man.
Yeah.
It just crucifies the ears. Oh my god. And, like, I can't understate the pedal-driven guitar riff that just comes in not much after the chorus in that song. Like, just the fucking, like, I don't know if it's like a whammy or like just like a pitch shifter.
Yeah, that little
there.
Yeah.
I don't normally like get into like pitch shifted riffs like that, but that is smart. Dude, that riff is fucking smart and infectious.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
That's the thing that like really kind of catches me about this album specifically. Because they've done it on the last couple, but this one they really kind of dove into that, like, you know, using the weird sounds and the like you're saying, like the pedals and stuff,
Yeah.
and just really building this atmosphere around each of the songs. That's cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's great, especially having that song as the opener, because it's like it encompasses everything that's about to happen throughout the whole record. You know, it's got those fucking death metal riffs reprised and bulked out, and like the tracks like Bone Dust and the thick dissonances there in Fragda, like you mentioned, and yeah. Nothing gets heavier than that fucking title track, Abyssal Mouth, man. Nothing.
Hell yeah.
Like, it almost makes me wonder if Meshuggah would be jealous. You know?
It's undeniable, really.
Yeah.
Like, it's just one of those.
Mm-hmm.
I think... You guys keep going.
Yeah, no problem. I think where Abyssal really holds strong is its shelf life, you know?
Yeah.
I think, you know, sure, it's only been a few months since it's been released, but most records within these subgenres, you know, really tend to get stale fast. But this record's only gotten better with each listen.
Oh, yeah.
Every time I listen to it, it's got something that contributes to its lifelong validity. It's awesome, you know. And I think that comes to two things, you know, the first is that Abyssal isn't heavy for the sake of being heavy. Heavy is its purpose. You know, like...
Yeah.
And the second is that Humanity's Last Breath really understands that there's many definitions to heavy, and I think that they pick a lot of those definitions out and place it in those, because you get that dissonance that's not heavy in structure, but it's heavy in its emotion.
Yeah.
You know? And I think, you know, even from the barreling riffs, that's where you get that sense of heavy, too. I think this is a deathcore product that deserves to be remembered for a very long time.
Yeah. Well, that was because I was familiar with the band before with the previous stuff, and you know I think it was either like the artwork or it was one of the videos that I saw. It might have been for that title track, And I was like, because after that, I think it was like just after I found out that the whole thing was out. So I was like listening to like select songs and stuff.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I don't know, it's like just builds really.
Right.
There's a cool atmosphere behind it and everything.
Yeah. I dig it, man. Definitely check it out for sure. Humanity's Last Breath, Abyssal. Okay. 43. Definitely a more Burton choice here.
Oh.
Yes. While I still think you'll appreciate it too, of course, Aaron. This is a band called Worm Witch. Worm Witch put out Heaven That Dwells Within through Prosthetic Records on April 5th. You caught the Black Dahlia murder show in Battle Creek, did you not? With Suffocation
Yeah.
at the Music Factory?
Yeah.
Worm Witch opened that show.
I didn't see him.
Yeah.
I missed out.
Oh, gotcha.
I missed them and Decrepit Birth at that show,
Oh,
unfortunately.
damn, dude.
Yeah.
Decrepit Birth went the fuck off. Anyway, yeah, Worm Witch played, and, I think back then, at that time, they were more embedded in a crust subgenre, but here they mostly done away with it in favor of a melodic approach to their newest record, combining that, giving a melodic black metal idea. Thing is, though, is that this record riffs traditionally in a way that it's just addictive, Like it's got that sense of black metal in its attitude, but then it just breaks into a riff that's just like, dude, whoa. Like, that fucking shreds.
Hell yeah.
Like, I don't know, man. Like, I listened to the first record, Strike Mortal Soil, and I felt like I was listening to a band that had potential in the riffs, but struggled to attach in terms of the overall presentation of it. I was just striving for a lot more when listening to that. So I'm really glad I gave this band another chance, because their newly invigorated style is just way more satisfying, especially on this record. You're talking about, like, taking influence from bands like Dissection and At the Gates, more so, as well as newer bands like Young and In the Way. It's beaming with riffs and atmosphere, man. I can't stress enough how infectious some of the hooks are in this album throughout.
You said,
especially, what's that?
You said Dissection, and that, like, almost instantly I was like,
Yep.
I need to hear this.
Yep. Yeah. You'll definitely get that Dissection in the song Vernal Womb. That's definitely there. But my personal favorite track is Two Wolves. That's got a riff that it'll get stuck in your head for days.
Fuck yeah.
Days. My favorite part of this record, specifically just displayed in the tracks I mentioned there, is that while it's meant to sound grim, and that it does, I get more of a sense of joy and fun when I listen to it,
Fair.
I mean, especially like just in the gallops of Benighted Blade, man, that's some contagious shit right there. Oh yeah. But even with that, there are some really
gallop.
Yeah, dude, you love a good gallop for sure.
Oh God, I love it.
But even with how fun the record is, there still are some seriously stern high points, and that's especially in the closing song, Alone Before the Doors of the Silent House. It's got a really dark introduction that just sets the stage perfectly for the following razor-sharp riff that's just going to cut you deep, man.
Oh, yeah.
Throwing a jaw-dropping solo in there, and you got a closer that encompasses the sound that dwells within, heaven that dwells within. Sorry, couldn't resist. Yeah, there's just so much to pass around here for anybody that's interested in stupendous melody and fun riffage in a black metal package, I think it's just catchy enough to reach out of its limiting subgenre, which is super cool. I think anybody that really appreciates the art of the guitar is going to have fun with Worm Witch's new album.
Nice. I'll give that a spin for sure.
Definitely.
Worm Witch. I just like their name.
Worm Witch.
The cover's a little, like, deceiving.
Yes.
Like, it's weird.
Yeah. It's definitely Renaissance.
Yeah.
It's, I don't know. Like, it's one of those that you look at it and it seems like there should be more going on than what there actually is.
Right. Once you listen to the record, it kind of makes a little bit of sense, though. Yeah, you'll get that for sure. So fucking listen to it. Okay. This one is 100% going to surprise people, I think, unless they really understand what's going on here. Slipknot wasn't the only fucking new metal band to come back this year and produce something really awesome. They fucking weren't. Actually,
I know where you're going with this.
Actually, I think the better band that came out was fucking Korn, man. Yeah.
Didn't even know they came out with a new album.
Oh, shit. Did you ever fuck with Korn back in the day?
With Follow Your Leader, when I was younger, I liked that album. But
yeah.
Pretty much nothing really else after that.
Gotcha.
But I did see them at the Family Values tour.
Oh,
and they were good live.
Hell yeah. Well. Woo, shit. Okay.
Yeah, no, Korn dropped a new album called The Nothing on September 13th through Roadrunner. And, dude, it's the comeback that I've always wanted from Korn. I love it. Any fucking person that loved Korn from the self-titled record to About Issues or Untouchables is gonna love this record, man. If you didn't like Korn with, back then in those days, this probably isn't gonna change your mind. You might as well just disregard this. It's like, I'll be big enough to recognize that. But this review is for the people that either fell off the Korn wagon or haven't taken the time to listen to this band at all. This statement is for you. The Nothing is the heaviest and best record they've released since Issues.
Damn.
Bar none.
Whoa.
No competition. Nothing.
While the last Korn I didn't feel like was bad, I think we can say confidently it still didn't scratch that itch, I think Korn has been a wildly different band ever since, at least Take a Look in the Mirror.
Yeah. That was the last album I liked from them.
Yeah.
To be honest. Everything else is kind of,
Yeah, I think that was the really the last one that retained that style somewhat. And after that, it's just been different,
But yeah, I mean, I don't care what anybody says. Korn used to be incredibly fucking heavy. They did new metal more fluent than anyone else. I mean, shit, they're the godfathers, of that genre. And I'm happy to say that the Nothing fits that description. Absolutely. Cold, the opening track, that might contain some of their heaviest material to date. Easily. I mean, it's a little bit watered down by the chorus, don't get me wrong. But other than that, the way that it pounds in is just, dude, it's brutal. I did not expect that when that was the first song that they released from the record. I was like, fuck. I was like, I didn't think they were capable of doing this anymore. I definitely wrote off Korn for a while, but dude, this thing drew me right back in. Albeit some of this material isn't as disturbing as the first couple of records, I mean, could you be,
Right.
Yeah.
I still think that the structuring of these songs and the record as a whole is incredibly fucking solid. There's classic Korn moments, bringing themselves out through and through in songs like You'll Never Find Me, The Darkness is Revealing, Idiosyncrasy. I mean, especially the end of Idiosyncrasy. I just love the way that it breaks off kind of like halfway through, and it's just got that fucking pounding part. And what does Jonathan Davis say? He says, God is making fun of me. He's laughing up there, I can see. And he just says it over and over. And as he keeps saying it, it's just more demented. And it's just, I love it. It's what I loved from Jonathan Davis originally, having that emotion and disdain for the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's easily the star of this record. Even in the softer parts, in like This Loss and Finally Free, those really touch deep too. I just think for a band this late in their career to release something this passionate and angry is really rare, But Korn's managed to plate a new dish that is as savory as the chef's finest moments to me.
Nice.
I may be totally in the minor on that. Who knows? I don't know, and I don't fucking care. Fuck you. I think Korn's The Nothing is one of the best I wouldn't say revive, because they've been consistent pretty fairly throughout their career as far as putting out content, at least.
Depends on who you ask in that. But.
Right. But, no, I mean, not quality. I mean, just like, they never really went anywhere. You know what I mean?
That's true. Yeah.
I'm just saying that this is definitely the most impressive, like, revisiting of an original sound that I've heard in a long time. I love it. It is catchy as fuck.
I haven't actually listened to any of it yet, so maybe I'll do that.
Yeah, you should do it. If you like those original records, then yeah.
I was more into the Slipknot side of things. So
Right.
maybe that's probably why that was a bigger album for me.
I feel that.
But
yeah. Well, I mean, I was more into the Slipknot thing too. Don't get me wrong. This one really checked off the boxes for sure.
Awesome.
Love it. Yep. Send me the hate mail. Okay, and then we're gonna round it up with 41 here. And yeah. You hear something?
that was just me.
Oh. Fucking keep it down.
I was doing that the other night too.
Mm-hmm.
You did the same thing. You're just like, what the what is that? Sorry.
No, you're good. Okay, if my memory serves correctly, this is going to be the last entry that's embedded in the hardcore realm. Sorry, there just wasn't a lot of hardcore this year that really like showcased themselves to me.
Yeah.
I don't know, but either way, it's still more death metal influence too. Fuming Mouth came out with a record called The Grand Descent on Triple B Records, June 21st. And I think while there's certainly a lot of flavors of death metal, The Grand Descent flourishes brighter when it's seen as a hardcore record, because it doesn't really have the intricate riffing of death metal. It just has the pounding of death metal. I don't know. I just think Fuming Mouth like breaks trends that comes from like death metal influenced hardcore lately by pulverizing a lot of ears with overdriven guitars playing 70% breakdown and 30% metal riffage, and it just fucking works. It's like, it's ignorant, you know what I mean? It's just it is what it is. It's fucking brutal. It is. As soon as Fatalism comes in the first track, you're gonna immediately realize the punishment that's ensuing.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's just, it's got a kick snare beat, that fucking howling vocalization, the fuzzy feedback that's churned out. It's intense, man, and the intensity never stops. Does not stop. Every single song just bells out with anger. You know, there's really not a whole lot to say other than that. It's just 33 minutes of fucking pulverizing hardcore / death metal.
Hell yeah.
It's really cool. And
Nice.
it's even got like the death metal side of it. It's coming from a tone of like Swedish death metal too.
Oh,
so
wow.
you'll be able to appreciate that.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, the artwork and stuff, and kind of reminds me of like Tomb Mold kind of that style.
That's another Bell Witch guy.
Yeah.
Artwork.
Or maybe it's Creeping Death. I'm not sure who I'm thinking of.
Yep, that's the one.
Yeah, that.
Oh, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Really
sweet.
cool. Yeah, that's the record easily summed up. That's a short one for sure. I hope I've done a decent job at it, even though it's not a lot of words. Simply put, if you like Swedish tones and your arm throwing hardcore, Fuming Mouth did it best this year, for sure.
I do like me some hardcore.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Just some ignorant, pissed off
Oh
music.
yeah. Oh yeah. That's some good shit right there.
Okay, I'm really pleased to do this. Really pleased to do this fucking review. Okay. Another Michigan band. And I absolutely love these guys. At number 40, I've got Vestigial coming in. With Crown of Serpents, they dropped this on November 1st, and they did it independently. I want to put out a quick disclaimer here. Okay. Yes, I am on the record.
Yeah.
I am featured on it. I feature on the track Crypt Seeker. I want to make it known that while I am featured, there's no bias contributing to the placement of this album, nor is there bias contributing to the overall review you're about to hear. Similar to Boggrave's Omen, in 2018, which I also featured on. This is just for the sake of promoting good music and from a fair perspective. Just so happens that the music is unbiasedly good enough to reach where it is.
Nice.
Nice. Would not matter if I was on it or not. That being said, man, Vestigial is fucking cool band. They really are. And Michigan Metal's never had a shortage of great bands either. I think that just the thing that Vestigial exceeds in over a lot of other bands from our state is their songwriting capabilities. I think that they know how to do a lot and make it work. It's like they know how to make a 1,500 piece puzzle fit and fit quickly. You know what I mean? I think, these guys have been, doing it pretty well ever since last year when they dropped Fallen Skies. I thought on that record we saw them tackling a more straightforward metalcore approach that you would see in something like In Flames, Trivium, and Silosis, showing that the band can certainly write hooks and riffs. But now that they've, grown up a bit and they've, been exposed to some more metal, you kind of start to see them, and especially with Mike Miller coming into the band with drums. They really stepped up their game here on this album compared to Fall of Skies. Their original influence are still present a little bit. They're just set backwards a bit in place of more raw death metal styles, similar to bands like Discarnate, Bit of Lamb of God in there, the slammier side of Dying Fetus. Yeah, and this only arms them with more, with more abilities to create, intuitive melodies, and, now they, on top of the melodies, they have their newfound glory in writing addictive and powerful riffing, because that's really all it is. It's just powerful. It's very heavy, in the same concept that Discarnate is heavy. It's just raw, bone-in riffing. And as far as the whole album goes, it's got a great flow. The whole thing makes sense where it is, but you can cherry pick each song and listen to it, and it makes sense on its own too. They're really solid songs on their own. Especially coming in with Dethroned, it's just a big crash of power, and has wonderful riffs throughout, and even an ending passage that just, it's just like up and up and up and up and up, and then it just plateaus with that end, and it's sick. It works. Yeah. Followed it up with Usurper and Precipice is, there's some concrete solid beats in there for sure. Personally, and again, this is going to sound really pompous, but I think the peak of the record is when Crypt Seeker comes in, the song that I'm featured on. As far as I'm concerned, my feature's the least fucking important part of the whole track. It is. I want you to focus on how, you need to focus on how different this is from all the other tracks. All the other tracks have a pretty decent unity, but this one stands out in being such a slow-paced banger that, like, again, all it does is just goes up and up and up and builds in intensity. Once you get to my part, the instrumentals are just like, it's about to explode, Yeah. And it's just intense as all hell. It's just dreadful. There's a dreadful overtone to it that you're not going to find in the rest of the record. It's entrancing. It's erratic. I love it. The whole record really has a lot of solid beats, and I think that this is a record that people really need to pay attention to for sure. I will vouch for it 100%. It's lightning in a bottle for this band, absolutely, and I implore anyone to check out the airtight solidarity that Crown of Serpent contains for sure.
Nice.
So I heard saw the video for the single that they put out for a while back. I don't remember what the song was called.
Yeah, Dethroned.
Yeah, that was it. And immediately after, I was like, this unreal. Like,
Yeah.
this is really solid. I want to hear the more of it and stuff. And I haven't actually listened to the full record, but it's something that I really need to do.
Yeah, good stuff for sure.
I really enjoyed the video for it and everything. And it's cool to hear, bands from the area and stuff, or just, just Michigan area, just be as consistent and as strong,
Absolutely.
So that's cool.
And as far as I know, I don't know when they're going to do the next record, but I've already heard stuff from the next record. So.
Oh, they're already from one to the other.
Yeah, they just they work it out, man.
Same tight.
Thank you. Okay. I'm getting a little hot. Let me take this off. Take off all my clothes. And ain't none of you motherfuckers going to see it because this is a podcast.
Wow.
Hey, just listen to me be naked. All right. Okay, we're going to go with a more traditional approach to black metal here. An absolute black metal classic in Dark Throne. Dark Throne put out Old Star this year, released on May 31st through Peaceville Records. And I think we're pretty familiar with Dark Throne at this point. They came out in the second wave of true Norwegian black metal alongside bands like Mayhem, Burzum, Emperor, Immortal, Carpathian Force, stuff like that.
I think they've done, they did establish themselves as one of the most timeless black metal bands of all time with those records. The latter half of their career, however, sees Fenris, utilizing a more traditional approach to their style. For anybody that's kept up with the band since then. I think, there's elements of doom and speed metal and traditional heavy metal implemented in here. And I think that it's reached its peak with Old Star. I think that it's definitely the sound that they've been looking for, and it's the most well achieved. Even from the speed of the beginning track, to the second track, The Hardship of the Scots, is actually a little bit problematic because I don't know if you guys are familiar with AC/DC very much.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, Let Me Put My Love Into You.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is this a Yours Is, Ours Is?
This is a song. It's like...
Yeah,
it's damn similar. It's shockingly similar. But it still sets itself aside enough because the riffs that separate that is very doomy, and it gives it a new attention that I didn't really think would come from like a rock and roll riff like that. I don't want to call it a rip off because it's not. But
right.
It is, but it's not. You know what I mean? It's just the influence is really strong there. I just think with these things that, with the speed metal and the hard rock, it makes it clear that it's not too serious because it does have that strong black metal overtone, but the riffing itself, it's just, you can tell it's all about the music and nothing else. It's not, especially for a band of this genre and a band that was in that movement, being really overly serious to a point where, just teen angst.
Right.
Combined with black metal, you know what I mean? I just think that this record definitely is the finest moment Dark Throne's had in a long time on all fronts. Even with the driving of the rock and roll guitars, we still managed to get a good glimpse of the band's roots, especially in the closer, The Key is Inside the Wall. Like, it's definitely faithful to what made the band so popular in the first place. I just think that there's a lot in Old Star that really makes it live up to the Dark Throne legend. I think it's filled to the brim with fun, and I think it's quite a treat for black metal as a whole for sure.
Nice.
Yeah. You gotta listen to it, man.
Hell
It's
yeah.
fucking, it's riffy.
Absolutely.
They're one of the early black metal bands I haven't really ever spent very much time with, admittedly.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
If you like those bands, I think Under a Funeral Moon and Transylvanian Hunger and A Blaze in the Northern Sky I heard classics for that. And then even if you go further, because Dark Throne started as a death metal band with Soulside Journey, that's a death metal record. It wasn't until they started noticing what was going on in the Mayhem camp where they were like, okay, maybe we should kind of, but Soulside Journey's sweet too,
Oh yeah.
Dark Throne's sick, man.
I think Dark Throne has been more consistent and better than Mayhem and Burzum ever were, to be honest. Because Mayhem fucking put out the one record and it was mad sick, and then after that it sucked until like recently. And we'll get to that too.
Oh, that's right. Surprisingly been a pretty big year for black metal too.
Yeah, it
Yes,
has.
indeed. Yes. Especially for those original bands, because Immortal came back hard last year with Northern Chaos Gods.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Love that record. I still listen to it a lot. Okay, this one's going to be decently quick because it's a pretty unknown band. But this is an entry at number 38 for 1 Hour Hell. That name's pretty dumb, isn't it? 1 Hour Hell.
You saw the worst name I've ever heard.
It's not the worst name I've ever heard, but still. Don't let it fool you, though. This fucking album rips. This is Voidwalker by 1 Hour Hell, released on September 13th. I'm not even going to try and pronounce that label name. Fuck it. You got to have it figured out at this point that I love a good chunky riff, man. You know what I mean? For being a vocalist, I've always paid attention to the guitars first. That's always the make or break for me, whether your guitar is the driving essence of the music or not, you know. That's what is the most detrimental factor to a band's level of uniqueness, is that guitar. Certainly that's the case for this record, absolutely. They've gone through a lot of lineup changes, and such brings a different sound on this record. But we see a new side of the band here on Voidwalker that focuses much more on a growing riff rather than the maximum speed they're capable of reaching. I gotta say, like, dude, definitely a lot of moments on here remind me of Gojira. Oh yeah. Especially the highlighted track for me being Exit is what the song is called. Checks off all boxes required to make a groove so catchy that it just makes an entire festival ground bounce. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I mean, even still from that, like, because it opens, that was the craziest thing for me with this record, because it opens with a song called "A Violent Cancer." Okay, and this song is really blasting. Like, it's fucking, I mean, shit, it's got to be about the 240, 250 range. In BPM, like,
fast as fuck.
Like, it splatters all over the speakers. So I kind of, like, when that song came through, I thought that's what I was going to be expecting. You know what I mean? I thought it was going to be a lot of fast. I thought it was going to be a lot technical. But soon after, man, once Empty Eyes comes in, it's just like, oh, all right, this is a little bit more stomp worthy, you know? This is really cool. By this point, I'm not only questioning what's going to happen next, but I'm really enjoying the ride as it bumps along, too. You know? Super cool shit, man. Yeah. I mean, and the groove continues on. It's got a little bit of,
Cover, man.
Yeah. You know, the groove continues on, and it gets a little skewed some sort of ways, you know, with some black metal characteristics on one part. You know, there's a more symphonic black and death metal part, you know, on another song. I think that it just, I don't know, especially with Ashes from the Last Breath, I think the track does a lot of fantastic things for Voidwalker, because up until now we've seen 1 Hour Hell exceeding in the riff writing department, but this song really stretches the wingspan wide and offers a variety of flavors and width to the record that it was a pleasant surprise for sure.
Nice.
Yeah, by that point I'm already sold, but of course it really sealed the deal with the last two tracks. With Resaw, I don't know if you guys are familiar with a band called Mithras, but they're a very underrated death metal band from the United Kingdom. They have a record called On Strange Loops that is one of the most underrated death metal records of all time. Gotta listen to it. I'm telling you, have to listen to it. Reminds me of that, you know, it's just really spacey, Morbid Angel kind of stuff that creeps its way in for possibly the heaviest moment in all of the album. Like, it's just intense.
And then, closes out with Driftcraft, which is completely singing.
Okay.
Almost in a metalcore sense. But it really ties it off well. I think this record is truly fun to listen to. I'm glad it's made its way into my ears for sure. It's gotten a ton of plays for not even being entirely my genre wheelhouse,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the coolest fucking thing. And it doesn't really look like it's going to be leaving anytime soon either. 1 Hour Hell, Voidwalker. Definitely check it out if you're into the riff.
Yeah, I'm sold on that already.
Yeah, that's a good one, man. That is a fucking good one. You like Gojira, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you'll like this record.
I'm like ever since fuck, what was the name of it? Way of All Flesh.
Yeah.
That's what it was. Yeah, and then from that one on, pretty much.
Gotcha.
So.
Hell yeah.
So if it's anything like that,
Right.
I'm sold.
Yeah, it definitely has. I mean, I'm not going to go ahead and say that it's as quality as Gojira. Nothing is as quality as
Right.
Gojira when it comes to that department. But
well, for something new to come out and to be able to put it as that,
yeah, it's definitely reminiscent. It's just got that, that festival stomp to it. You know what I mean? Just big. You can just see big waves of crowds just fucking going crazy to it. Okay, 37. This one's exciting. Say this 5 times fast. King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard.
Dude, I keep hearing about them.
King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. Okay. So for a little bit of background,
Sorry.
for a little bit of background, King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard is a band from Australia that they're multi-genre, 100%. This band has 14 full-length records in a mere 7 years, and every single one is different from another. You're talking. They can go from progressive rock to surf rock to psychedelic doom, and to what we see here is a brand of stoner and thrash metal.
Okay.
So this album's called Infest the Rats. Infest the Rat's Nest. They really know how to say some tongue twisters. They've got some odd titles, man. This record came out on Flightless Records. And yeah, man, I'm for not having a lot of thrash metal on my list this year, man, I really wish that more thrash metal records achieved this level of entertainment.
Hell yeah.
Dude, it's just fun, man. It's just fucking, I don't want to say stupid because it's not, man. It's really smart shit, but it's like it's packaged in a way that's just like totally stoner, and I love it. Like, it's just, it's rambunctious. It's unadulterated. It's uncensored. It's purposefully angsty. Like, it's just like kids jamming in a fucking garage, pumping out some nasty thrash. I love it. And yeah,
this much is already obvious when Planet B kicks in the first track. Like, it's just piles of overdrive and slamming toms punching through. It's just fucking, it's awesome. It's even got a little bit of interesting sound subject in this song. Just like, the chorus is, there is no Planet B, and that's awesome. And it sums it up perfectly. I think when this song ends, you're left with the realization that the riff is king and the riff speaks doom.
Nice.
Oh yeah.
It's really good shit. Even as the record goes on, it's not so much blatant thrash metal in there like you see in Planet B and Organ Farmer. But like in Mars for the Rich, it's a lot more Sabbath influence in there too.
Yeah.
Kind of bounces along. My personal favorite is Superbug.
Yeah, man. Dude, it's like, it is superb Matt Pike worship, like Sleep and High on Fire, you know what I mean? Like, it's just down, 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 down. Like, it's awesome, man. And the way that he bellows out the chorus, because he just says Superbug over and over. Like, and yeah, the lyrical theme is so silly. It's fantastic. It's one of the best Stoner Doom songs I've heard in such a long time. It's so good. And yeah, you know, the album continues to churn out entertaining metal throughout the whole rest of the thing. There's pulverizing moments in the 2-part song of Venusian, as well as, you know, one of the earliest singles. I can't talk, man. Self-immolate, you know. I think most people will hear this and agree that there has not been a thrash record that has been this fun in a very long time. It's just... It's just like you drink beer to it and you fucking bump into your friends a little bit and just party, you know. It's totally denim vest worthy, you know. It's great. Don't take itself too seriously and focus on what makes this doom-laden thrash metal so exciting. So, yeah, if you're looking to get something exquisitely thrilling. King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard.
What is that, like a broken jaw?
Yeah, it's a rat's jaw, and it leads down into the depths of hell.
Sick.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, deathcore again, but this is the OG, man. This is the fucking OG. This is the band that started it all for me when it came to deathcore, and that band is Despised Icon.
Okay.
Purgatory came out on November 15th. Nuclear Blast put this bitch out, man. And I'm not going to beat around the bush with this one, man. They're fucking back.
They're fucking back, and Purgatory is just everything we know this band is capable of achieving.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but, like, Beast was dope when they, like, came back after their breakup. But it didn't quite get everything for me. You know, I kind of felt like something was a little dry. While it was still great.
Yeah.
You know, it just...
I don't know, man. You're talking about, like, The Ills of Modern Man and Day of Mourning and the Healing Process. And yeah, like, dude, this record definitely matches up with those just fine. Don't get me wrong there.
Unites gritty lightning speed death metal with the ostentatious breakdowns most familiar in hardcore, you know? I think, you know, this band really has a lot of benefit pairing the hardcore voice of Alex Arian with the unique gutturals of Steve Maroy, you know? It just takes the blistering momentum of their world-class instrumentalism into the most aggressive corners of all deathcore for sure. Yeah, it's a wonderful return to form for the band, and it's really a true testament to everything that Despised Icon has ever achieved in their career. While we don't really necessarily see them expanding on what made them, well, we kind of do, you know. I think there's certain moments like Moving On is definitely has a groove, like a slow-paced groove that I didn't really think Despised Icon would ever go towards. But, man, it fucking works. It's probably my favorite song on the whole record. Like, it's just, dude, it's great. I mean, it still manages to maintain that really brutal aspect of the band, too, within its verses, you know. It's just that chorus riff is just so... it just makes you bob your head. Yeah, super cool. But, I mean, even from the start, like, the title track comes in, and it's just... It's classic Despised Icon. It's definitely live staple, especially, like, I mean, with that, even with just the first break, with just the and then the whole ending part when it just keeps slowing down. It's, dude, yeah, it's what made deathcore so cool in the first place. And then, and like songs like Lightspeed, you know, it's just like total, like it gives like MVP a run for its money when it comes to like the speed, you know what I mean?
That's one of the things I feel like that, like at least as a drummer, like it's just like maddening to listen to.
Yeah, it's insane.
It's like how that's so fast and it's so like just chaotic and all over the place, but it works.
Oh, absolutely.
And yeah, as time passes throughout the record, you know, we see despite Zycon actually taking a little bit of new chances that, while we may have seen in some form in the previous records, it brings a fresh perspective on the band's phenomenal writing skills for sure. I think especially like Apex Predator, provide some on-time signatures and accents that show off a totally different side of the heaviness that they're known for. And especially the closer, Deadweight. Dude, there's like a total melodic death metal influence in there that I never thought was going to come from that band. Closes out the record wonderfully.
That's awesome.
Pleasant fashion that I totally did not expect. I gotta say that, Purgatory is definitely their widest record yet. I think it stands well against the band's finest records and just proves that these heavyweights still have everything in them to show deathcore fans all the world how it's really done.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely, I was kind of on the same page with the last album.
Yeah.
As excited and as into it as I was, there was still that thing that was just like, I don't know, like didn't really do quite what, I mean, Day of Mourning is such a, like, that's the first album that, excuse me, got me into them. And then I kind of went back, Ill's a Modern Man and stuff. But, yeah, like, hearing, like, Purgatory for the first time, like, even, like, the title track and stuff. I put the video out for it. And, dude, I must have played that, like, 10 times after I first heard it. I was like, this is sick as shit.
Yeah.
Like, I love this. And this is, like, exactly what I wanted them to do on the last album.
Yeah.
So, it's cool to actually have that and all.
Yeah. You see why this list is so tough for me now, because I'm putting records like this at 36, man.
Right.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. Okay, this is one of the most unique death metal, like straight death metal releases all year for me. This is a band called Fulci.
Okay.
Like Lucio Fulci. It is a band that is totally dedicated to his filmography.
Oh, shit.
Every single song, even their aesthetic, it's all Fulci.
Wow.
This album is called Tropical Sun, released May 31st, 2019 on a label called Time to Kill Records.
Uh-huh.
And the thing with Fulci is that, like, you're seeing a band that takes the death metal styles of, like, Skinless,
Uh-huh.
like just the really, like, low down tune riff, some kind of Mortician, but not as overdriven, and it pushes it into the goriest places possible, which is of course helped with the lyrical content, and the thematics from Fulci movies. It's I gotta say that even on top of that, the riffs are addictive for sure. Like, you listen to it and it's all very headbang worthy, every single moment of it. And it's definitely got that foreboding, like, it's putrid, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you listen to it and you're reminded of what made death metal cool in the first place, is because it was just like, dude, my mom would be upset with how gory this album cover is, how the lyrics and stuff in here. It's just, it's really disgusting stuff. And I think that one of the props it does have is actually using audio samples from the Fulci movies in it too. I think it sets up a really good atmosphere for these songs to come in and perfectly match, the vibes that you would get from, like, watching those movies. It's like it's watching the movies come to life. It's super cool. I love the aesthetic of Fulci. Absolutely love it. I think that this band definitely has a really cool future. As long as they keep putting out memorable death metal on top of having their shtick. Because there's nothing worse than a band with a shtick that puts out boring music.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No.
These guys really, really exceed in putting out stellar riffs.
That's awesome.
It's awesome shit. Very guttural stuff.
It's a really different idea.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, it's really cool shit, man. I have nothing but happy things to say about Fulci. It was really one of the most fun death metal records that I heard this year because of its thematics.
Nice.
For sure. Good shit.
Nice. All right. All right, 34.
34. This has been a really interesting band in the last decade, especially going from some grindcore to industrial to noise elements. Now going to a pretty firm grindcore / death metal phase. Full of Hell. Full of Hell comes back with Weeping Choir, released on Relapse May 17th. Oh man, I can't tell you how crazy this fucking band is. I mean, you guys understand if you've heard it. Like, it's batshit insane. Especially with this record opening up with Burning More. Like, it's just, I don't know, man. The vocals, the drumming. If you've ever watched this guy drum live, it's the most insane thing in the world.
Yeah.
Dude, he's going 1,000,000 miles an hour,
Yeah.
and he's not doing it with the aid of anything.
Mm.
It's all raw drumming. This band just really utilizes a specific brand of grindcore that's almost on a power violence phase.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And just the way that they go about it is absolutely intense. They waste no time. The record's got to be like 22, 23 minutes long, you know? But, I mean, just in that short amount of time, I think, you know, with a lot of these kind of bands, you know, it's a lot of the same shit for 22 minutes, and that's its purpose, you know?
Yeah.
It's just supposed to be fucking intense the whole time. This is intense the whole time, don't get me wrong, but every single track has its own thing, you know? It's either just absolutely razor sharp 1 minute, or it's just down in the gutter the next, you know? And I think that much is, you know, really showcased in songs like Burning Myrrh, and the combination of, like, the noise project that is Rainbow Coil, and the way that it leads into Araya of Jeweled Tears. Like, dude, it's just like that intro. It's just machine gun. Like, it's just and then just the whole thing crashes in. Just, dude, it's crazy.
Yeah.
You can't find this kind of stuff anywhere else besides Full of Hell. And, you know, for being this short of a record, it's crazy that they managed to fit a 7-minute song in here. Because that's what they usually manage to do on most of their records. This one being with Armory of Obsidian Glass. This is where the doom metal side of Full of Hell comes in. It just pedals along. Like, everything that was, you know, 1,000,000 miles an hour just instantly stops and fucking just provides a sense of the band that you won't get in any of their tracks. This song is just, I mean, it is frightful. Like, it's scary shit. How fucking slow and doomy it is. This one really crept up on me too, because I've been following the band for a long time, but I think with each listen, I just, again, keep finding more and more about it that I absolutely love, and I think that this band continues to expand on everything grindcore in every single way possible. Yeah, I mean, I think this is one of their finest moments for sure. I think Weeping Choir is fantastic, and I think any person that really loves grind metal should be paying attention to this band because of this record for sure.
Nice.
Definitely awesome shit.
I always associate them with bands like Nails and that kind of like that kind of sound and stuff, which is cool. But for me, like, I'm not. That's like it's it's weird. It's like doom and grindcore are the two genres that like I'm the least knowledgeable about.
Okay.
And so like I'm always trying to find different bands and different like things that I can kind of like gateways, I guess, for lack of a better term, to kind of like get into stuff. And
I would say, as far as grindcore goes, this is one of the most important bands out there right now for sure. 100%. Good starting point for Full of Hell for sure. Yeah, good stuff. 33. And we've already talked about this guy a number of times today, and I think this was his finest moment this year. Allegion comes back with Apoptosis. This is a record dropped on Metal Blade, April 19th, 2019. I think the really cool thing about Allegiant is the fact that they do a brand of technical and progressive death metal and are 100% unique from all other bands, you know. There's a strong they write songs so fluently. It's insane. And I think especially with their previous record, Proponent of Sentience, you know, had such an incredible flow throughout the entire record, but every single song is a banger in its own right. You can play it without having the assistance of the other songs to have that flow. It's just, you know, they know how to write a kick-ass song. You know, that's why it reached #1 that year when it came out for me. I still listen to it consistently. It's one of my favorites of the decade. It's a great record. I absolutely love it. And Hypothesis definitely follows suit well in that. I think that the composition, even more so, is more epic and intricate. I think that they definitely leaned more on the progressive side of things rather than technical, while it's still very technical, don't get me wrong. It's just, you know, when you have a guy like Greg Burgess, you know, helping write the songs, write the bulk of the songs, he just has a knack for melody and making really off-kilter things work together. Especially in songs like Tsunami and Submergence, it's a total dip into like some really blackened stuff that we haven't heard from the band yet, but fucking excels like really hard. Especially in, you know, like all of the Extremophiles songs, the A and B, you know, it's the classic Allegiant that we know and love. You know, it's just great riffs that pedal along great, with, you know, Riley McShane doing his wonderful vocals over top of it. Same goes for Stellar Title Disruption. It's great. I think where this song really excels in two places. Metaphobia being one of them. I think that's got to be one of the most downright brutal things that they've done in their entire career. It's just, dude, it's heavy. It is balls heavy, man. Like you listen to it, and it's got an attitude about it that's so, like, it's so weighted.
Yeah.
It's incredible. It keeps consistent the whole time throughout the song. You know, a lot of the other songs kind of like dip in different places, different attitudes, you know, and those work. But this one is like straight consistent with that brutality the whole time. But the easy crowning achievement of the record is the closing track, which is the title track, Apoptosis. It's 11 minutes long, I believe, I want to say. And I mean, it's Allegiant's finest moment, easily.
Wow.
Dude, it is progressive, and it features the most singing from Riley that we've seen out of the band so far throughout the intro. It's almost like, it reminds me of like how epic Devin Townsend is with his solo music.
Oh,
you know?
Yeah.
I think that the stuff that gets brought out in this track is really, how do I put this? Like, for such a long track, everything makes sense flowing into each other, and it just goes down so many different paths just for everything to meet up at the end and explode. I think it's one of the most well-written songs that they've done, easily, providing for an album that's ultimately another fucking fantastic addition to their collection. I think Allegiant is killing it. I think they're one of the most unique technical bands out there right now, and they're only going to continue to do better and better.
Hell yeah.
I didn't realize that Fragments of Form and Function came out in 2010.
Yeah,
it's
been a minute, huh?
Yeah, that was the first. I mean, obviously, that was their first record, but that was like, I heard. What is that song? What is it? Across the Folded Line, or the God Particle.
Mm-hmm. The God Particle's wonderful.
Just the riffs in it, and just the way that, I don't know, like it's catchy and, you know, all that stuff. And I feel like there's a lot of, I mean, like, and even because I listened to the other, the one that came out in 2016.
Oh, Proponent for Sentience.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and like that was even, like you could still hear the like the earlier side of them in terms of like the sound, like all the riffing and stuff, but it was more like realized sound for them,
Yeah,
which is cool.
Absolutely.
So I'm more interested to hear the new one in comparison to all those and stuff, because they're like they're one of those bands that like I've heard of and I know I have, and like each one of them just seems like it gets a little more like I guess realized, for
Right.
you know, better term.
Yeah.
And so it'll be cool to check this one out.
Yeah, they've definitely been one of the few bands that really truly grows with each album,
Yeah,
you know. Yeah, cool shit.
Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think you'd dig them, honestly. I'm surprised you
a
haven't
Region?
really. Yeah,
I've heard of them.
Yeah.
I heard the last album. I think.
nice.
Oh.
Yeah. All hail science.
Yeah.
Okay, so number 32. This is going to be a little bit of an interesting one. So obviously, I'm just gonna get this out of the way there. But fucking Tool, this not the band I'm going to talk about. Not Tool. Has been gone a long fucking time, and I think that a lot of people like myself were yearning to hear that kind of sound again for their 13 years of absence. And actually a band came along early this year called Wheel. It's just like Wheel. Yeah. You familiar? Yeah. Wheel came along with an album called Moving Backwards, released on February 22nd. And this is definitely up that alley of Tool. You know what I mean? But it's more along the lines of their earlier days in Anima and Undertow, rather than their really trippy days.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got the rock and grunge amped up a lot more than Tool is known for, which really provides for some really cool fucking songs. Like, these songs are really well written. You know, the composition is tight as all hell. And yeah, there's not really a whole lot to say about it, because it speaks for itself very well once you listen to it. But this is an album for people that are really just looking for something to satiate that Tool need. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which kind of sucks it came so late. You know what I mean? Because sure enough, they dropped an album like half a year later. But yeah, no, I think this band really exceeds in that department, especially with the self-titled song Wheel. It's about 9 minutes of just, I mean, the riffing in it, and really the whole, especially with the combination with the drums and bass, you know, it's very reminiscent of that, you know, that jam band, how tight it is.
Yeah.
You know, there's really no way to, I mean, even they themselves admit it. You know, I remember when I first saw it, they were just like, said something about how we're sick of waiting for a new Tool record, so we figured we make something of what it would sound like. You know, turns out, I mean, you know,
It being Finnish, like a Finnish band, which is kind of crazy.
Yes.
And like it just, I think like I clicked on it because of the cover initially, because I saw it on like Spotify or something when I was looking for something to listen to one day, and I was looking through some of the new stuff, and I was like, well, it's kind of cool. And so I clicked on the first track, and I was like, man, this is like, it's such a interesting, like there's so much going on at one time. And even like, I don't know, I think the drums on it really stand out a lot.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
a lot to listen to. There's a lot of cool grooves that kind of keep things moving and stuff. And even like the riffing and stuff is cool.
Yeah, for how alternative metal the riffing is, it's really cool to see the progressive drumming behind it. You know, I think that's a big part of what really widens the sound.
Yeah.
And yeah,
I mean, for being really similar to Tool in its sound, it does a really good job of standing aside from that too. I think it's really cool because I've heard a lot of Tool clones over the years. You know what I mean? And this is definitely one that impressed me to a high amount.
It's weird because I never really got that Tool comparison to him.
Really?
Yeah, I never. I mean, like I know what was like involved in it and stuff. As far as like the I mean, you can't really talk about progressive music without talking about Tool, obviously.
Right.
But like I don't know, I think I was thinking more like Dream Theater kind of stuff.
Yeah, I can
To
hear
me.
that a little bit. Yeah. No, I just think that I don't know, it's just the way that they riff is very meat and potatoes, which for a band like Tool, who is so wide, when you really look at the guitar riffs, it's pretty meat and potatoes.
Yeah.
You know? I think that's why Tool is so impressive, is because they do so much with so little. And that's where Wheel exceeds too.
Yeah.
Cool record for sure. All right, so 31 is a band from Colorado, merging progressive metal with post-black metal. This band is called Dreadnought. Dreadnought released Emergence through Profound Lore Records on May 10th. There's really not a whole lot to say about this. It's definitely progressive in every sense of the word. There is no two songs that really sound the same in composition, although the overall atmosphere ties in together very well, especially with songs like, Besieged and Tempered. These are very, wide products that take you on quite a plethora of directions,
Overall, though, the melancholy is there. It's definitely a dark record.
Yeah.
Even saying that, though, there's still a lot of bright and shining moments that kind of take you back in to the light, remind you that, there is beauty in this record. There's beauty in the dark. It's really a hard record to describe. I just know that I've been entranced by it ever since I first heard it. It's just been something that's kind of at first confused me in a way, but intrigued me to keep listening and checking it out. And it's just something that I've really fallen in love with. I think that this band does this style of progressive black metal in a really interesting fashion, especially for a band that's so unheard of. Doesn't really seem like a lot of people are talking about them.
Yeah.
But
the drummer does sax as well, and there's
I did not know that.
guitars and keys on it. Huh.
Yes, I did not know the saxophone part though.
That's cool.
But yeah, definitely a cool record to check out if you're into something with a big ambience. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a very serious record. It's very into what it's into, and I think that it provides a lot of depth that a lot of records don't achieve, for sure.
Real.
Yeah, they got a couple albums, it looks like.
Yep. Yeah, they do. Okay, so this is a bigger one on my entry at number 30. Actually, probably the most... Oh, how do I scram it? It's the biggest release as far as, the overall sound.
Okay.
And there's so much going on in this record, and it should be no surprise that Devin Townsend fucking does as much. But with Empath, released on March 29th through his own label, I think that we see... It gives us the best look inside his head that we've seen since at least, Alien by Strapping Young Lad. When we really saw that frenetic side of him, that really angry side of Devin Townsend. But this is something that's just
much more realized, and I think a lot of that comes from the fact that there is more aggressive metal influence on this record. You know what I mean? There's moments on here that are easily could have been put in Strapping Young Lad songs, and he can't have been able to say that for any record he's done since then.
except for maybe like Deconstruction. I don't know, but dude, it's so big, man. Like every single song, especially from the intro, it just takes you to a beach. You know, it's just like you're on a beach. The way that the waves crash in makes you feel like you're just sitting on sand, like your toes are just in the sand, and you're looking over a big horizon, big shining horizon, and then everything just kind of comes in, especially with his beautiful singing. It's so beautiful. But yeah, like I think, you know, it's specifically the beautiful moments like Sprite and Genesis, you know, that meld that progressive rock and that symphonic rock in with some really fucking dirty metal parts, man, especially in Genesis. Like when that part popped in with all the blast beats and the tremolo guitar, I was just like, ooh, that was different. Like, because you're in such a calm setting, and then all of a sudden everything turns red. And everything lights on fire, and then it just goes back to the peaceful shit. And it's like, and I think something like that would seem really off kilter to most, for most artists, but when it comes to Devin Townsend, he makes it tie in so well that it just makes it that much more impressive. It's like, this guy really knows what the fuck he's doing when it comes to composing.
Yeah.
The whole record's like that. Every single song has its attributes, but really, it's the last track, Singularity. It's like, I think it's over 20 minutes long.
Oh shit.
Yeah. I think it's over 20 minutes long. But it's literally just, I mean, dude, it just gets everything in there, It's one of the most beautiful and, like, it is like an opera piece, the way that Singularity is.
Yeah.
I've never heard anything like it in my entire life. I think that this is definitely Devin Townsend in his finest moment in his solo career, which is actually saying something because I've never really much cared for Devin Townsend's solo career myself.
Kind of same, yeah.
I think it's just a little too out there for me, which is cool. I've always respected him hardcore as a composer. It's just, I really love that strapping young lad shit. Like, it's really aggressive, industrial death metal. That is, and you kind of see that in this record. So when I heard that there was some of that in here, I finally, I checked it out, and I actually found myself paying more attention to the parts that weren't death metal. I think that everything in it is just really grand. And I think only a person like Devin Townsend could have written a record like this, And I think that's definitely something cool. I'm glad that I was able to witness that for sure.
Nice.
One of the bigger things that I, at least trying to listen to this album, is just the, it really builds this atmosphere in your head. It really paints this picture in your head, and it kind of takes you through it all and stuff. And like it's all, it's in the production, it's in the, just like the way, like his vocals and stuff are super unique for what they are. And like it, I'm kind of the same boat. Like I was kind of into like the earlier stuff a little more. It was a little more aggressive. But it's from what I have heard from it, it's like, it's definitely it takes a special kind of twisted person to put some of this stuff together. I feel like so.
Yeah. All right, so next one. Question: who misses Job for a Cowboy?
I do.
Yeah.
I was never that familiar with him.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, a lot of us have been missing Job for a Cowboy for sure.
Yes.
A lot of us have been missing Job for a Cowboy. They dropped Sun Eater in 2014, or was it 13? No, it was 14.
He was
and I personally believe that it was the highlight of their career. I think that it was an amazing record that I did not ever in the world expect from Job for a Cowboy, and then they fucking did nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And have still done nothing.
Mm-hmm.
With
For
the exception of like a handful of their members and stuff have branched off and done things, but
right.
Yeah.
And for somebody that really misses that pounding death metal style from Job for a Cowboy and Johnny Davies' vocals, it's really fucking cool that we got to see into their new project, Serpent of Gnosis, which came out with an album called As I Drink from the Well of Inebriation, released on June 14th. This is definitely a meld of death metal and grindcore that goes for, I mean, this is also a short record. I think this barely cracks the 20-minute mark. But every single song is just, I mean, I can't really describe it, you know? It's just, it's filthy and it's uncensored, man. Like, Johnny Davies' vocals are just so unique, and they're some of the most gruesome vocals I've ever heard in my entire life. I think he has always been an unappreciated treasure. And it certainly shows in this band, that's for sure.
Like, it just pounds away, and like you listen to it, and you're just, you know, it's like, how can these motherfuckers be so angry all the time? Calm down, damn. But no, dude, it's absolutely sick. There's a whole lot of different influences in here, not just in death metal and grindcore, but there's, you know, really nice grooves in here, and I think, you know, for not being Job for a Cowboy, you really see a lot of those Job for a Cowboy influences come out in the writing.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. Yeah, this record comes in at number 29 solely for the fact that it is a really cool look into the minds of, you know, these really talented musicians making something that they might not have been able to achieve within the realms of Job for a Cowboy, you know? Like, it's certainly got its similarities, but this is a lot more abrasive and to the point than Job for a Cowboy is.
Yeah.
You know? So
this is kind of a super group in a weird kind of
a little
way
bit,
as
yeah.
well.
It's 3 of the members from Job for a Cowboy, joined by Max Lavelle on bass from the Black Dahlia Murder. And I can't remember the fellow's name, but the drummer is from Deeds of Flesh.
Yeah.
Yes. So.
I don't remember, like, I don't know, I think I was, I don't know, somewhere in, like, the story popped up, and I was like, well, what the fuck is this? And then I, like, clicked on the, what is it, was it, like, colorless capsules?
Yes.
Like,
yes.
I was like, this is insane. Like,
yeah. It is brutal, man. It is... it's sharp and pointy, and it'll hurt you.
There's so many, like, really, really heavy on, like, the grind elements of it, which is cool.
Absolutely.
And I think that, you know, his vocals with it is just gnarly.
That's absolutely what makes the record. I don't think anybody else could have done it and made it that angry.
Yeah.
It fucking works. I love it. Sick shit. Serpent of Gnosis. If you're looking for that Job for a Cowboy kick, this is the go-to. All right, 28. This is a super sick band that I was lucky enough to share the stage with this year on Unique Leader, coming out in June 21st. This is Organectomy with Existential Disconnect.
Fuck yeah. Man,
This is
so sick.
Yeah, man. This is definitely some slamming, brutal death metal that has a little bit of deathcore tendencies, but it's done so well because, I mean, dude, nothing's more frustrating to me than me hearing some fucking band say that they're slam and then they're not.
Yeah.
Like, it's just slamming deathcore. I hate to be the fucking slam police on that, but man, when I hear somebody slam, I'm thinking about like internal bleeding and devourment, you know, and it's not that. So it's cool to see this band really excel in not only slamming along, but also having really great death metal riffs and also, you know, making the deathcore stuff palpable. That's especially noted in like Antithetical. You know,
Yeah.
that song just fucking. There's no fucking. I mean, that song just pounds away. That is one of my favorite songs of the year for sure. Is Antithetical,
Nice.
and like it's just dun, 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 like it's got that groove that just sits you right down. You know?
Yeah.
Oh man. And yeah, there's a lot of fucking fantastic parts in here, you know, with guest vocals from Maddie Way of Disgorge, on Unending Regrowth. You know, the title track has some really cool shit on it. I think probably my favorite part is the widest reaching, for Where Pantheons Lie 1 and 2, because the intro part is so climactic.
Yeah.
You know, like it just builds and builds and builds, and you don't really know what's going to happen until it finally crashes down with part 2, which is absolutely solid black death metal riffing.
Yeah.
Like it's really good and has some really intricate slamming in there for sure. Yeah, this is a record I would absolutely recommend to anybody in the metal genre. Like, it doesn't matter who. I think it's like, dude, you're gonna bob your head with this.
Oh yeah.
You're gonna fucking bob your head, and it's gonna be great, and you're gonna thank me for it.
I don't know if I liked it as much as Domain for the Wretched.
Really?
Yeah, just because like the first time I heard that album, I was just floored.
Yeah,
dude. Like, and here, I mean, they're pretty equal, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
But I think just because of that, and because of the 2 instrumentals that are on it.
Yeah.
Like,
Cascading Depths on that first song.
Yeah.
I think that's the title. But yeah, I know what you mean. That first record definitely was in the same vein.
Yeah.
I just thought this one satisfied my slammier side a little bit more, and that's what I really dig.
That's true. Yeah,
Nice.
Did have a bit more of that going on in it.
Mm-hmm.
The first one was a bit more like straightforward death metal, I'd say.
Right. Yeah, I feel it. Okay, this one will be a little quicker too, because this is relatively unknown. But this is a band called Kaleikr. That's Kaleikr. They released an album called Heart of Lead really early on the year, February 15th. This is a brand of progressive death and black metal that's not really easily described. You know, I have a really hard time describing it because it does go off in so many different directions, but every time it does skew, it's absolutely fantastic. Like, this is a really epic band that even if it doesn't have necessarily palpability and riffs, the atmosphere that it provides is top notch for sure.
Nice.
I think that they convey emotions in a specific way that not a lot of other bands in this list have been able to achieve.
Fair.
I think that especially because, you know, leaning on the black metal side of it early on, it was quite a surprise when I did hear some riffing going on in a death metal style later on in the record. I think that even still in that the emotional sense is not lost. I mean, just being Heart of Lead, you know, and the album cover, I think that's my favorite album cover of the year, to be honest. I can pull that up. That's right on my phone. But, yeah, like, it just...
Oh, wow.
What?
Man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Coloring and it's really cool.
Yeah, like, it's really fucking interesting.
Wow.
And it just makes sense. Like, you listen to it, and it definitely describes the music very well. You know, it's just fucking...
That's wild.
It's really gray, you know. It's a really gray record, you know, but at the same time has a lot of patterns going on, you know. Has a lot of vibrance to it.
Nice.
I think that it's a really interesting one that might get lost on some people, but I still gotta suggest it anyway because of how much it affected me personally. I thought that there wasn't really any records that brought out that side of my listening experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're looking for some black metal / a little bit of death metal / a little bit of progressive metal, I think that this record is really interesting, and it doesn't really waste any time doing what it needs to do.
It's only 2 people.
Yes, it is only 2 people.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't see that often.
Yeah. Okay, so for number 26, we've mentioned this band an awful lot. And to be honest, I've also heard things about these guys having possible ties to Nazi sympathizer thing, but it's not. I haven't confirmed it myself. I don't know. A lot of people still talk about these guys, like, and they are widely important to black metal's sound nowadays. So I gotta at least mention that maybe you should just stick to like streaming or torrenting this record. Maybe, I don't know. I'm of the opinion that great music can still be made from shitty people. You just shouldn't give your money to them. You know what I mean? I think
separate the art from the artist sometimes.
Exactly, and I think Deathspell Omega definitely does that well. Deathspell Omega came out with an album this year called The Furnaces of Palagenesia, released on May 24th. And yeah, like I've already mentioned, I mean, we've talked about how many black metal bands on this podcast so far.
That's a lot.
You know, and
Quite a
almost
few.
every single one I've mentioned that they're influenced by Deathspell Omega.
Yeah.
Like, they really do have this avant-garde style that so many bands latch onto, but no band really does it as well as Deathspell does, you know? There's just something that really makes you feel like you're in hell. Like, in every sense of the word.
That's crazy.
It's they just tread along, and there's a dissonance to it that you can kind of hear in certain bands, like shit, like Ulcerate's really good at the dissonance, even for being a death metal band. Gorguts a little bit, you know. But even more so in black metal bands like Emperor. Emperor is really good at that wide sound.
Yeah.
And yeah, Deathspell Omega takes it into some really nihilistic levels. Absolutely. Especially with this record, for sure. It's, you know, it matches up to the whole discography with ease. Like,
Nice.
no problem.
Nice.
Especially with songs like Renegade Ashes and 1523. But I think the most interesting thing about this record is how it ends, you know, because it builds up this really dark and foreboding mood, and it's, you know, quite intense, to be honest, the way that they play these instruments. So for it to end on a song like You Can't Even Find the Ruins, where it's not intense blatantly, but it's like, just, you know, it's really slow paced, and it's mostly like clean guitar.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like minor passages, so it's not pretty. It is quite scary.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, you know, there's a sense of doom to it for it not being of the doom genre,
Yeah.
you know? And I think that's really cool that, you know, a black metal band can achieve that kind of thing without being of that genre. You know what I mean? I think overall that Deathspell Omega definitely crafted a piece of music that gives reason for bands to be so influenced by them. I think that it showcases why Deathspell Omega has been so important over the years. Again, I just can't stress enough that probably shouldn't give money to these guys.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
They're one of those, again, it's another one that, like, I've heard the name so many times, but I've never, like, given the time to actually sit down and listen to any of their albums and stuff. And it seems like they're definitely like a full album band.
Oh, absolutely.
Rather than just a song or two.
Fuck. Yeah. 100%. I would agree with you there. I can't really just pick it out. It's like, oh, I want to listen to this album this time. You know, I don't want to just listen to this song. I got to make time for it.
Yeah.
But it's always worth it when I do. Yeah.
Which may be a lot of the reason why I missed some of this stuff. So I just haven't taken the time to really just sit with it and actually, actively listen to it instead of just putting it on in the background, I guess,
I feel that. All right, number 25. We're almost there. I'm getting there.
Probably the most important 25.
Yes. Yes, we're almost there. Okay, so you were talking about how Kaliker is two men, doing the band, and that how you felt that was impressive.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty impressive when it's just one dude.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's what Drastis is. Drastis released an album called La Croix de Sang, another black metal record. But man, this is such a different style. Like, I've never heard anything like this. It's crazy. Like, I'm still like finding new things about it each and every listen. This guy, he's been gone for about 10 years and left off the height of his career with an EP called Serpent's Chalice, and which contained a lot of stylistic similarities that we see here. And we're talking about like just tracks that set everything ablaze. It's just, it's especially when the song comes in, it's just so blatant right off the bat. And it's crafted in a way that, like, I think because of the way that black metal has gone over the years, we haven't really seen anything as sinister and evil as those early days of black metal.
Right.
And this record definitely matches that. Like, this matches the first time I heard like De Mysteriis Dom Satanas by Mayhem.
Okay.
This record matches, like the first time I heard Philosophem by Burzum. Like, It's just like it's really fucking evil, and a lot of that comes down to the vocals too. Like, I think that's really important. The shriek that he has, and even when he's not shrieking like that, it's a wail, and it's not it's singing. But it is absolutely, like, it's ghastly, combined with like really light, ominous tremolo picked, intros and outros. And it's just, yeah, it's demonic. I don't know how to explain anything other than that. This record legitimately scares me. It still does. Like, it's very, it's not to be fucked with,
There's another early one from this year.
Yes.
Early on.
Yes. And it's in songs like Crawling Fire, where it's just really, it's big, but everything about it is just like it's like you're in a horror movie, but not in like some chintzy horror, like a really scary horror movie.
Legit.
And yeah, like there's songs like The Crown of Death, that rolls in and, takes that previous abrasiveness that's there and, takes more of a bleak aura that's merely hinted up to this point, but now it's just like shoving it right in your fucking face. Yeah, for a record that I wouldn't really consider doom, that song definitely captures the doom sense, not so much in the musical structure, but in the sense that it makes you feel literal doom. You know what I mean?
No.
The peak of the record is easily the final 17 minutes in which you're talking about the two tracks. I'm not even gonna try and say this.
Yeah, I was looking.
Sizer is the first, and then the second is Constrictor Torrents. It's got a little short interlude before that to let the listener take in what has already been experienced previous to the record. But little did I know when I was listening to this is that it's supposed to prepare you for what's to come, which is the fucking scariest part of the whole record. I was not ready for it. It's just a menacing riff that leads in with these drum and bass that, like right on the tail of that riff. Like, you hear that riff for a second, and all of a sudden it just
explodes.
Yeah. And it is the true incarnation of dread, man. It just is. And yeah, the entire 6 minutes of that track alone, A Sizer, excels in bringing back the vibes that the introduction instilled and just blends it with pick scrapes, spooky chanting, and just like minor chords that might be one of the most downright creepiest moments in black metal that I've witnessed. It's fucking nuts.
Hell yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. Like, I never really had a glimpse of an idea who this band was before this year, and it's possibly the greatest suggestion that I got from an outside source on this list.
Wow.
Nice.
Easily. I really hope that people see this record for what it is, because it's really fucking brutal.
I see they got 2 albums out, or EPs, I guess.
I believe, yeah, it's just
Oh, it's one like 5 songs, and the other's the one that you were talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe they just have one established EP and one established CD. Or LP, I should say.
Wow.
Okay.
Straight from French.
Yes.
France, whatever. That's what I said in the comment. So.
All right, beautiful people. That's it. You've made it to the end of episode 109 and the end of part 3 of Clint's album of the year list, his top 100. This was 49 through 25, and oh man, Flesh God, Tomb Mold, Worm Witch, Dark Throne, Jesus Christ, like that. I can't, this list is just another level of metal. That's all I'm gonna say. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. And I hope you all are enjoying it. I hope you've enjoyed everything you heard so far, and I certainly hope you continue on to episode 4, the final episode of Clint's list, going over albums on the list numbers 24 to 1. Thank you again so much, Clint, for doing this with us. It was absolutely unbelievable. Everyone be sure to follow Recorruptor on everything. And I hope you continue on with us to the final episode. Here we go, everyone. Number 24 coming up next. Love you all to death. Good night.